Number 3, Dr. Megan Woods.
To the Chairperson of the Education and Science Committee. Did he consider inviting the Minister to appear again to answer questions around responses to questions on the 2013-14 estimates for vote education? If so, did he receive any advice about the Minister's willingness to appear again?
Dr.
Kia ora,
Calder.
Te kai houtu. Mr. Speaker, no. The Chairman is a servant of the committee. Following her lengthy appearance and her comprehensive answers to the wide variety of questions posed by members, the committee resolved not to ask her to return.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Dr. Megan Woods.
Thank you. Has he received any briefings or advice as to whether the Minister of Education, her staff or her officials contacted her government colleagues on the committee to discuss her willingness to return to the committee?
Order. That question is not in order. Point of order. Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, could you explain why the Chairman of the committee receiving advice from the Clerk of the committee is out of order to be the subject of questions in this House?
Because I didn't understand the question to be from the Clerk of the committee. I understood it to be whether the member, Tam Calder, had been talking to the Minister's office and staff. Let's be clear. We'll have the question read again, but it better be in order this time.
Okay. Has he received any briefings or advice as to whether the Minister of Education, her staff or her officials contacted her government colleagues on the committee to discuss her willingness or otherwise to return to the committee at a later date to answer questions around the responses to the 2013-14 estimates review for vote education questions received by the committee? If so, from whom and what was the nature of those briefings or advice?
Order. No, that question is not in order. It's the chairperson, as the chairperson of the committee, is not responsible for the action of a minister. The report must relate to a matter that the member, as the chair, is responsible to, and I refer the member to Speaker's ruling 1757. Point of order, Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, repeatedly in this House, ministers are asked about reports they have received or advice that they have received. Mr. Speaker, this question was very clearly about and very carefully drafted to include advice that that member, as chairman, could have received from the clerk of the committee. So if the member receives advice from the clerk of the committee that is about a matter that the clerk should not be advising on, that does not exclude it from examination in this House.
And I have ruled on the matter, and if the member wants that particular question, the member should frame it in such a way that it is a question to the Minister. Order. I have received a letter from the Honourable Leanne Dalzell seeking to debate under Standing Order 386, a local authority being stripped of its building consent authority accreditation, while a range of government agencies failed to address the need to intervene prior to accreditation being revoked. An urgent debate is a way of holding the government accountable for an action for which it is responsible. There must be distinct governmental responsibility for the particular case which it is sought to debate. There is no direct ministerial responsibility for the Christchurch City Council's failure to respond adequately to the concerns of IANZ. The responsibility for the fact that accreditation is to be revoked lies with the Christchurch City Council. I acknowledge that the government has a general power to revoke accreditation, but this does not render this particular revocation a matter of direct government responsibility. Further, the absence of action on the part of the government has long been held not to be a particular case of recent occurrence which can be raised under Standing Order 386. The urgent debate procedure is a means of debating matters that have occurred. It is not a means of debating matters that might or might not occur as a result of meetings involving government ministers announced for later this week. I call on Government Order of the Day number 1.
Food Bill